by Embrace the Power. Unleash your potential, make your impact. I'm your host, Amy Lee Miller, and joining us on the show today is New York City-based writer and actor, Sam Given. Hi, Sam. So excited to have you. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm super excited to have such a talented writer, singer, actor on the show. Sam plays a variety of characters, including Innocent Boy Next Door. You have played Gay Alien.
Yeah, Gay Alien, bent on world domination.
Yes, I definitely have to check that one out. And of course, a drag queen. And I understand some of your favorite credits are, of course, you're making your Broadway debut in The Inheritance. And then I can't imagine how much fun you must have had touring the country as David Bowie in Rebel Rebel, The Many Lives of David Bowie. And you're also an avid playwright. And then when you're not writing and performing, as if you you do have a ton of energy because I know you personally, but you also are a fitness instructor. You teach Hot Hit, that's high intensity interval training at Bowie, NYC. So lots of great stuff and super excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. It's been a busy day. It started early today. So I'm glad my face is still standing up.
Yes, your face is still standing. You look great. And speaking about your day, I'm curious, and I'm sure our viewers are too. As a New York City-based writer, actor, what are your days like? What do you do all day?
Well, for example, today, what I work on is a work-life balance. So part of the day is taking care of my emotional, physical needs. So I spoke at 2 12-step recovery meetings today, and I went to hot yoga, and I went to therapy. And then on the creatives, it wasn't meant to be that way. It was a lot of emotions today.
Okay, good for you.
And then creatively, I spent an hour and a half writing because I'm in that practice of just put the pen to the paper and see what comes. Mm-hmm. So I was writing, and then I was taking care of administrative work as an actor. So that means submitting for roles, responding to emails, preparing auditions. And then lastly, I was learning lines for a show that I'm about to leave town and go.
Oh my goodness. That's so exciting. So you have that's a lot. That's a full plate. And I imagine you love every minute of it, or there are parts of it that are kind of challenging that you just kind of feel like you have to do, or, you're doing what you love and you're super talented at it. So just curious if you love every minute of it or what that's like.
No, of course not. It's definitely a hustle at times, but I find that when I give myself time in the day to also rest, like I had a nap, I had a really good lunch. I spent some time with my cat. Like when I give myself those benchmark moments, it's a little bit easier to handle what's in front of me. And that's how I get through it. Just what's right in front of me here in this moment.
That is so perfect. That's so, I love that. Just addressing and being present, staying in the moment. And I imagine your ability to be present, to stay in the moment is something that helped you go further in your career. And continues to. Has that always been an effort for you, or just something that you're consciously aware of, being present?
I think it really started. Most of my assets started as survival skills. So for me, I was bullied a lot as a kid, and so I was always cautious of whatever space I was in and very highly attuned to what was going on around me to avoid getting hurt. But as I've, come into adulthood and worked through that stuff, I really focus on walking into rooms as they are instead of bringing in whatever baggage I have from the day. So like with auditions, I'm meeting a creative team for the first time. I try to give myself a nice blank slate and to read the room as I go in, as opposed to just somersaulting in with all of my chaos. And that seems to really help me because it lessens the pressure in most situations, especially one-on-one conversations. It's like, I'm reading you, you're reading me, and I feel safe.
That's amazing. And that helps you, I'm sure, to really allow your authentic self to come through in your auditions. You mentioned that you were bullied a lot as a kid. And I was just curious about the timeline what sparked your interest to perform. And as far as the types of projects that you're drawn to, was the bullying a factor that
huge
in that?
huge one. I mean, I came out of the womb with a Birkin in my mouth. Everybody knew I was different. Okay, maybe a knockoff, but it was, it was definitely one of those touched children who was, doing Colors of the Wind at the Synagogue Talent Show. And I had a lot of bullies, physical bullies, verbal bullies, kids and adults, both at home and in public spaces. And I didn't find safety and sanctuary until I did my first show. My father was generous enough to be like, there's an audition for a local kids review. You seem to be full of energy. You're also a little bit of a pathological liar, so maybe you could be a storyteller. And from the first show I did, I felt like I had found my tribe and my community and a purpose. And that's, carried me through over the years. Now that's changed. When I started, I was a kid, so I wanted to be famous and rich and to turn around and tell my bullies, I told you so.
Right. Of course. Yeah, we all want that.
You want to be the big mansion, driving the Ferrari and, Bel Air and no access and admired from a distance. But my art today is about social impact and creating change. So whether that's representation of being a queer gay man on stage in a dress, and someone sees that and is inspired to be kinder to a relative or a child, then I've done my work. Or whether it's creating space for other people like me to come in and find themselves and find healing, then that's optimal for me. Creating community.
That's amazing. So that's your purpose. Did your purpose kind of morph into that or grow into that? Or
it had to. It had to. I mean, my perceived purpose went up until I was maybe 25 was just to be an actor and to be famous and to, wait for opportunities to come my way so that I could make a social impact. I always wanted to be of service to people, but I thought those opportunities needed to be handed to me when I had enough credits or enough awards or enough recognition. And I hit a dead end because I was doing all this work and I was still feeling spiritually empty. And that's when I really started to bring service into my craft and to focus on why I'm doing this and to move away from self-centered fear and selfish, aims to community-driven work. And that's what saved me. That's how I stayed creative. I think I would have stopped had I not found a deeper meaning to what I was doing.
I love how you knew from a young age. You said that you were maybe your dad thought you could be a good storyteller because you were a pathological liar. So that's interesting. So you like to make up stories. You wanted to perform, so you had that drive. So it sounds like you had this instinct that you followed as a kid. And I find as a career coach and in a lot of the conversations that I have with folks who feel out of alignment, either in their life or in their career, I find that it's that they're not listening to their instincts. So I love that you stayed with that. And also that you found something very important, which pushes us to persevere when the path gets tough. And that is your why you're doing what you're doing. That's your purpose. And that keeps you going. So I love that.
What's nice about that too is the first point you made is like trusting your gut. And for me, I thought the only way I could justify my parents paying for, a performing arts education and all the sacrifices they made for me as a kid growing up to go to rehearsals and to shows, skipped family vacations was to make it big, to have some kind of material proof that it had all paid off. And I resisted the urge to think differently because I was so set on this one track for making my point. And it wasn't until I think we have to hit walls in order to change. I'm someone who needs to be in incredible discomfort in order to consider my other options. But once that happened, I realized how in line with who I am it was to be of service to other people. That's what I wanted as a kid. I wanted to connect. I wanted to be loved, and I wanted to love others. So it's like coming full circle.
That's so beautiful. So I know you personally, of course, you're a fitness instructor. You know this, you are everybody's favorite instructor. And
You're very kind.
What you just shared made me think of this. So of course your classes is awesome. Great workout. So, and super entertaining, we're doing our crazy moves and you are doing your phenomenal dance moves, keeping us laughing and making the class go by really quickly. And you're hilarious also.
I wish you all could see Amy's moves. She's pretty amazing in there.
No, we
Very
don't need
strong.
we
Very
don't
strong.
thank you demonstrate any of that. But one thing that makes you so uniquely special is you have this way of making, it's very genuine too, of making people feel like they are the most significant person in the room, like they are so special. And yeah, I was curious if, I mean, that's such a unique gift. It really makes you magnetic. And I'm just curious if you've always been that way. It sounds like you have
Yeah.
since you were a kid, and where that comes from. You know, if you even know.
I think it's partly God-given, you know, our instincts, whatever you call God, good orderly direction or Liza Minnelli, I don't really care, but something bigger than me to want to connect with people on that level, but also because I've been in the dark so many times in the tunnel, and people have made me feel special and recognized and unconditionally loved, and that has been the thing that has gotten me through. You know, I'm an open book. Like I've been sober for 11 years from drugs and alcohol, and were it not for the unconditional love I received in those rooms, I don't think I would have stayed sober or, you know, had hope that my life could be anything bigger than sitting in my apartment watching reruns of Roseanne. So I know what it's like to be on both sides, and it's something that I gravitate towards.
Absolutely. And that, I'm sure, helps you be the phenomenal performer that you are. So you've been, of course, on Broadway, off Broadway. You have written, directed, and starred in your own, do you call it one man or one woman show?
Whatever you want to call it. Just don't call me fat. Otherwise, we're okay.
No, I don't think anybody.
I'm kidding.
Just make me look skinny. So yeah, so and now you're writing as well. I'm curious, and you said that you have a show coming up. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're currently working on.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of social impact, the show I'm doing is called The Legend of Georgia Mcbride, and it's about a drag queen who teaches a straight Elvis impersonator to do drag so he can make money for his family. And so it's all about community. And what I love most about doing shows like this is I'm doing this show in a relatively conservative town, and I love conservative people. I don't have an issue with conservative people.
That's amazing.
But to expose them to narratives that they aren't used to, that might allow them to see people who are different from them in a different light, is what excites me and what jazzes me. And it's the same with my writing. My writing is tied to social impact, and specifically, I think you've said it, humor. I think humor is the one thing that unites all of us, and it can disarm, and it can force you to look at yourself in a different way because you're relating to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I'd love to hear a little, if you want to share what you're writing right now, what you're working on writing wise.
Oh, perfect. I have a one-man show that is in the process of being produced off Broadway, and that's a show mostly about me growing up a fish out of water as the kid who really stuck out like a sore thumb, and my stoic masculine father who just wanted a baseball player for a son, and how we kind of navigated through adulthood and me coming out as a gay man and navigating gay sex with a dad who really didn't want to talk about it, but still loved me unconditionally. And that's called flinch, because I used to flinch at the baseball as it would come towards me.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Childhood stories. And then the other two projects is Don't Say It, which is about a drag queen who moves to Tennessee to open up a gay bar as a protest to the Don't Say Gay bill and the ban against drag queens.
Oh, wow.
And then the last one is dark humor. I don't know if these will get produced, but I love to explore my writing and see what it reveals to me as well. So I wrote this show called Private, which is a gay Sex in the City set in a concentration conversion camp, because that's happening in Chechnya. Gay people, LGBTQ people are being swept off the streets and sent to concentration
that is
conversion
insane.
camps. Yes. So I like to draw attention to those things.
I don't watch the news. Is that in the news? I mean,
No,
so
it's hiding.
not just me who's in the dark here.
No,
people don't know about this.
We don't know these things.
Bring it to the.
Yeah, that's the best part of art for me, whether it's mainstream or back performing in a back alley, is we're exposed to things we A, might not know about, or B, might not think we relate to. And then we find our story is actually hidden in there somewhere.
That is so beautiful.
Why I love it.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see these shows. You definitely have to. I'll ask you towards the end where we can keep up with everything have going on. You are such a treat to watch you perform. And in the one man show that I saw, yeah, very funny, very entertaining, but also deep, and the darkness came out too. But it's in a way that, yeah, it did seem to unite everybody in the room, all aspects of it. So yeah, very, very talented. I want to go back to what you were talking about a little bit ago about finding your why and kind of going through that challenging time where you were at first you were focused on just, being famous, and then you really found your purpose. Because I'm always curious, whenever we are working to pursue our dreams, of course it's a challenge, but sometimes it can feel like a struggle. Maybe if we're going in a direction that's either not right for us altogether, or if there's something that needs shifting. So I was curious about was that the point that when you made that shift with your why, that you felt your career kind of go to that next level? Love to hear a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. It's like the lobster shell. It's like you outgrow the shell, but there's that moment when you feel like you're suffocating from the inside out, and then you shed the shell and find a new one. And that was it for me. It was threefold. I mean, there's only so much rejection and critique a person can take. And as an actor, I'm not only being critiqued on the material that I bring in, but the sound of my voice, the way I enter a room. They say casting directors make a decision in the first 10 seconds of you walking into a room. So that's a lot to carry with you as you hear nothing, or as the rejections come in. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I was able to book a lot of work as well. And it was twofold. I put all my eggs in the basket of having opportunities handed to me. So when they were then taken away, I was devastated. And mm-hmm. I'd hit like an emotional rock bottom, and it would take me months, sometimes years, to recover from having something that I so believed in and a part that was meant for me and built around me, to have it then stripped away. And lastly, and this is something that really led me to create, was I was performing other people's words and thinking, God, I could do this. I want to tell my story too. And when you're talking about the gut, it's like I always think of gut as like, how can I protect myself? This is a situation that I need to get out of. But it mm-hmm. is also that flame, that spark that says,
absolutely,
here you go. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. That's your intuition. I like to say, let your lead with your intuition, and let your logic follow. And that can go, yeah, absolutely both ways. So is your stomach sinking, or is your heart soaring? So
brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. I say that all the time. So it just rolls off.
Heart soaring.
But it's so true. We just want to pay attention to our emotions. And when something lights you up like that did for you, your desire to do the writing yourself, so that you could to not only show, but also create the stories, that's for a very good reason. That's because that's how you're going to make an even greater impact. And exactly. A lot of times when we feel out of alignment, we're not listening to that. No. I'm curious if you have, or what advice you might have for, since you're somebody who is pursuing your passions and fulfilling your purpose so fiercely and for a long time now. And congratulations on that. I just think that's absolutely the best. And that's what everybody wants. And so I'm curious if you have any advice for somebody who maybe either hasn't found their direction, what that thing that lights them up, or maybe they know, but they're not taking action.
I have plenty to say. The first thing is give time. That, I don't know about you, but our generation, I feel like there's always been a deadline for finding what it is that you're supposed to do and achieving a certain level of, success and building from there. And what I find is that life is more cyclical than it is linear. Like, I've been reminded time and time again what my purpose is, and it has changed over the years. And all I had to do was just be open and willing to explore that. Mm-hmm. That's all that's required. The second thing I'll say is that not every day, not every year, not every month feels like skipping down the street. I've struggled a lot in this field. I've had dark days of, singing in the bathtub and having my husband say, okay, it's time to get out. It's 4:00. But so I would say, surround yourself with people who believe in you and who love you regardless of what it is that you're doing. We're so focused on human doing, but human being is such a huge component. Until I started to take care of myself and put that first, I didn't have a shot knowing what it was that I wanted to do or to follow through on it.
Yep. You have to be present. And part of that, a huge part of that is feeling your emotions. And so this way, you know which direction to go, you know what feels good, you know what doesn't feel good. And it takes sometimes just sitting with the discomfort. Speaking of discomfort, we were having a conversation a while back about the importance of doing what scares you. And I think
Oh,
that that's key in getting yourself where you want to go, and in what I call leveling up, because once you do what scares you, you're no longer scared until you get to that next thing, and then you just do it again. But with the repetition of that, you build more confidence. And you said something so beautiful, and I still want to make a post and quote you. You said confidence is a muscle. So I would
yes.
love to hear what that means to you.
Well, the reason I say confidence is a muscle is that it's built on action rather than thinking. I can't think my way into confidence. I can't. No matter what you do, like that will pierce. But moving a muscle, taking a small action, and then realizing that it's not as scary or as hard as I thought it was, or maybe that it is, and I need to do some work, gives me the confidence to keep going.
Mhm.
And the way I do that, because I am definitely a person who suffers from fear and social anxiety, especially fear of failure, is approaching situations with a beginner's mindset. If I tell myself, Sam, you're a beginner today, just do the research. Just do the research. Even when it's like getting up at an open mic and singing a ballad for the first time,
Mhm.
just a beginner. There's nothing to lose, only to share. Then I'm able to kind of break through and the fear dissipates. Because confidence is just faith, in my opinion.
Yes,
Faith
faith.
that I
I
can
love
do
how
it.
you mentioned the action too. And then what
Yes,
action creates momentum, and then you get, more comfortable with it. I love that idea. I'd never thought about it that way, to think of it yourself as I'm just a beginner. It, takes the pressure off. I always think of it as, okay, of course I'm going to get better with practice. But that's
absolutely.
beautiful how you put that.
Absolutely. And when you remove your expectations of how it's going to go, you'll always surprise yourself. You will always land further than you thought, or end up in a totally different direction, which is
Yeah.
what's so exciting. I mean, I started writing actually because I wanted to do drag. I wanted to be a drag queen because that was
Mhm.
all the rage. RuPaul's Drag Race had just come out, and I had a fierce, drag queen that I really admired, and she said, "Do a competition." And so I did the competition, but then I found that if I changed the lyrics to some of the songs, people listened and
Okay.
responded and laughed. And so that's what led to my writing was years and years of just writing parodies. And and every single step I took of like, now we're going to write something that's a little bit more long form, and now we're going to share our work, and now we're going to put it up. That
Mhm.
was all me just moving one muscle and taking one action at a time.
That is so good. I love that, because a lot of people will get stuck in the too far ahead, and
Ooh,
that focused on steps 8, 9, and 10. And what if, speaking of fear, what if I get here and then he says this and this happens? Like, what am I going to do?
right.
Well, wait a minute. We can only take one step at a time anyway. And so just that one step, you can't discover your path until you can't see your path. You have to discover it. And so you have to start first. So that's so amazing how one curiosity or interest led you to do the competition, and then to start writing, and then now we see what it's
No,
what
I
it's
can't
blossomed into.
stop. No, I'm
That's
in
so amazing.
heaven. It's
I love
like what you said. It's like let the journey reveal itself to you. And I always find that if you like move just a little bit on a compass or a dial, and then
it.
you extend the lines, you'll end up in two very, very different places. So
Mhm.
like those small actions have huge results down the
That's so
road.
interesting. Absolutely. That's powerful. I love that. We definitely want to follow you. We want to keep up with your upcoming projects. I definitely can't wait to see what you are putting out next. So let us know. Tell us how we can find you, how we can follow you, how we can keep up with your projects.
Where I'm most proactive is Instagram, just because it's so easy. And my handle is Sam Given Sing, SING.
Sam
Like
Gibbons.
sing a ballad or like girl she can't sing. That's my handle, and that's where I release my creative work. That's where I try to build community, and that's where I can support other people. So if you follow me, I'll probably follow you back and jump into everything you're doing because I like rooting for people.
That's
I,
amazing. And we would love your energy rooting for us Definitely a gift. It's always great
So
to
is
have a
yours.
conversation with you, to thank you, to be in your energy. Definitely want to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for spending some time. Always great to see you. And thank you to our listeners. I really appreciate you guys. If you like inspirational, motivational content, you can definitely check out my book, Where's My Mustard? How to Let Go, Attract, and Achieve, A Quest to Self-Empowerment. That's available on Amazon. You can follow my YouTube channel at Amy Lee Miller Coaching, as well as find me here on Embrace the Power. And definitely check out the upcoming podcast and inspirational interviews with Vince Buggs and Mike G on Embrace the Power. Until next time, stay curious and get excited.